All right, you are tuned in to Dead End Gaming. I'm the captain now. I'm the captain now.
Look at me.
I'm the captain. Look at me. Your boy BC430 here with Mean Mug 11.
What up, y'all? AKA Eric V.
Eric, oh yeah.
AKA.
Oh, my bad.
I'm also known as that.
Right.
I'm trying to do the whole Pop Daddy thing.
I'm going
Nobody gonna know.
I know.
Yeah, all this homie known as me.
I'm going as
You have a symbol next and shit like, what?
I'm just saying.
I'm 11. I'm 11.
It's a lot to say. It's a lot to type. I don't want you to get tongue twisted.
Right.
Unless you're my lover or something, you know?
Got Detroit in the house, Tyler in here.
Hey, what up, though?
And we got Granddad, aka 1,000 hours.
1,000 hours. Still getting it. We doing it. That's what it is.
So, of course, we back again. I know y'all got a little cliffhanger last week of the show of what we're going to be talking about, or part of what we're going to be discussing today. But before we get into it, we're going to go into the games that we've been playing. And me, Mugga, 11, what you been playing?
I have been playing. I'm cheating right now. Last night, played some Division 2. I'm at level 20. I'm not up to B yet, but we'll find out where B was. He was just playing it like 20 minutes ago.
Shut up.
He carried his PS4 around in a lunchbox like a kid. Like, he played that shit everywhere.
I'm trying to play today?
Playing the game. But I played Star Fox 64 for Old School Saturday.
Nice.
I finished off Devil May Cry 5.
Oof.
What else? That's it.
What you say was Old School Saturday?
Star Fox 64.
Okay.
Which one is classic?
Yeah, man, that shit is better.
What about you, Tyler?
Let me see. So I started playing Rage last week in preparation for Rage 2 coming out in May, which I'm like super excited about. That's definitely one of the top couple titles that I'm like really excited about this year. So started Rage. I never played it through before. Kind of getting a feel for it, and still playing Apex, which we'll talk about some more later about the news that's going on with Apex. But yeah, I would say those have been getting most of my attention for the past week or two.
What about you, Granddad?
I've been gaming, y'all. So this weekend I finished the Claire scenario A for Resident Evil, and I put that out. Also finished Horizon Zero Dawn on my stream. And yesterday I got to the level 50. I got Ancient Armor, all my shadow weapons, so I'm ready for the Frozen Wilds DLC that I'm gonna stream too. So Aloy's looking right. Also I got Division 2, played a little bit. I ain't nowhere near these niggas levels. Like I'm at like level 10. So I that shit got taken away because NetherRealm loves me, and they sent your boy a special beta code for the stress test. So all weekend pretty much was Mortal Kombat 11. I was getting it in, playing online. The game is like even better than when I played it in LA. They made a lot of great changes and updates to it. Even though you can only play as 3 characters because it's just testing the online, stress and capability, which actually after the first couple hours on Friday, it was running like butter. It was smooth. Like no real issues, no real major lag. And I was getting a lot of W's, as always.
Who are you playing as?
Fatalities, brutalities, all that good stuff. I just put out a video today on the YouTube channel of some gameplay, so if y'all want to check it out, I'm with the big homie Baraka. We getting it in, slicing and dicing, and it's pretty. Oh, of course, and like I said, 1,000 hours, smash, of course. So yeah, I've been getting my game on this weekend. I think that's it. And that's all I played. Yeah.
Word.
And of course, y'all know what I've been playing. The people that follows me got Division Friday at midnight. And today, literally before we started our stream and recording the podcast, I finally got to level 30. So I'm like ready for in-game stuff. I still got to do 3 strongholds left before I
gotta say I got to level 30.
Yeah, 30. Yeah, there you go. I like that. I got to level 30. So yeah, man, I love that game. I've been playing that game like crazy. I already knew I was gonna be putting in crazy hours. I made sure I clear off my weekend when it came out because I was just going ham at it. Shout out to the folks too, Explicit, Wolfman, Belly Ocean, aka Love Live Lyrics. He's been playing with me. Black Caesar been playing with me. BK Shango been playing with me. Like we got a clan. I have a clan. I invited them to join the clan. So once they get to level 30, we can bust and do these raids and stuff together because it's an 8-man crew to do a raid. So I got like about 9 people in the clan. So we out here. So that's what I've been playing. So like tough.
Let's review it real quick, man. How we feel about Division 2?
Right now?
Well, you love it, obviously. Next, Wooly, how do you feel about it?
I I still need to dive into it some more, man. We just getting started.
Dive into it some more.
Already in 2 days. Think about it.
Michael Phelps in this bitch.
Yeah, man. I gotta make sure.
You swimming with the sharks right now.
I got a trench in this bitch.
Yeah, I am. I gotta make sure, the in-game stuff is up on point. Now I gotta start working on getting my skill level up. I gotta get these exotic weapons. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff in this game.
Yeah, I think the game's dope though. Like, I enjoy playing it. It's a lot of fun. I still gotta get my levels up, but I think the weaponry is cool. I love the co-op play of it is really cool, and I just think it's just really done well. There are still a few little bugs that I caught in the game, a couple glitches which they'll probably patch up real quick.
It was one that happened earlier.
But other than that, the game, I've been enjoying it. So yeah, I think I'm a fan of Division. I like it.
I like it. Okay, like I don't regret my purchase at all. I'm having a good time. Yeah. Those glitches though, them bitches is annoying.
That fool had the ghost chopper.
Had to.
You put it on Twitter, didn't you?
Yeah, I put it on Twitter.
Someone revived you. Who revived you? Like when somebody...
My homie Rigo.
Okay.
Shout out to Rigo and Billy Ocean.
Okay.
But yeah, just...
You was like, ooh. All I saw was Eric guy like this. I'm like, oh, Eric with the ghost chopper out here.
Yeah, man.
And it was funny, speaking of glitches, we had one on my stream while I was playing. The guy was just like dancing as I was just unloading. He was dancing while I was unloading.
Hit you with that shimmy.
Yeah, he was hitting me with that shimmy while I was just unloading the whole clip of
bullets ain't gonna do
on
shit.
him. Right. And then while it was another time I was in cover and all I kept hearing a woman in the background, I was like, why is this woman keep going off?
Getting them cheeks divided.
I was like, man, that's it.
But it's like, but like even like the menus are fucked up sometimes. Like I would try to like select some shit from a menu and it just would not go down or something.
Really?
Yeah, like every time I went to the friends list, like every time I'd be like, all right,
it's just during game.
I guess I gotta wait for 10 seconds. Okay, now it works. But it's still a walking simulator like Division 1.
Like it was one time me and 3 other people was playing and it was an intense mission. So I'm shooting. Next thing you know, I just saw my teammate just like he was just floating around the room. I was like, dude, what are you doing? He was like, I'm shooting. I was like, no, you're not. You're up here floating around the room like just gliding. I was like, oh, it's not this but a glitch. It's a glitch. So yeah, that was funny.
What skill level?
Right. What skill level? Right. What skill level is that? But yeah, I mean, I love it. I can't wait for Tyler to play it because if you like the first one, you're gonna love this one. This one is
dope. I'm
dope.
getting on it soon, like either this week or next week, probably.
Oh, and the custom play when you create your person. Oh yeah, it's dope.
You like the customization? See, I was a little disappointed
because I heard people talking about like there was this one tweet that I saw was saying like if there were any black people on the like artist team, then they would not have gotten away with the hairstyles that they put out
for the black women,
for black men.
Well, yeah, because I ain't even find a natural bald head for me. I'm like,
you couldn't find a bald head?
Nope, I didn't have a bald head. They had like a short buzz cut, and I was like, well, I guess it's close to a bald head, so I might as well get it. So, they ain't have a bald. They ain't have a bald head.
Like, right. We don't need that.
They ain't have a bald head. I was like, what? They did have some weird hairstyles, but I mean, I wasn't really caring about that.
They
I was
had like a Einstein fro with green and shit. I'm like, you had a bald head? Come on,
no bald head.
Crazy.
Priorities all jacked.
No bald head at all. So. Wow. But yeah, I the tattoo and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I thought all that was pretty cool.
The tattoos and shit are cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. The different little scars and war paint and stuff you can put on your face and stuff.
My dude got a.
What I want to get is the mask. You saw them Jason masks that they have?
Yeah.
I want to get that. I want to unlock those. I want to get a few of those Jason masks because I want to look gangster as hell. Now I'm in this in-game part of the damn game. It's about to get real.
BZ left us.
Man. This is where the game begins.
He was like, I knew it. I was like, I ain't know when I'm catching up to this.
No, I knew. See, but when Mortal Kombat came out, like, damn, I said, we ain't gonna get Granddad. Because I was like,
they wall on your ass real quick.
Yeah, I was like, man, I got some people that's gonna play. Bet. I'm like,
we still gonna play though.
We still gonna play.
I'm gonna play with y'all. I'll play with y'all.
Mortal Kombat's not coming until the real beta about to drop like next week. So after that.
See?
Then you got until like April. Then, so you got that pocket of time. So you got about a month.
That's what I'm saying.
Get on it.
When I saw the beta was out, like, damn, Granddad ain't gonna play. He ain't gonna play his damn division yet.
They sent me that
and code. I kept looking. I
was like Christmas morning. I was like, woo!
Yeah, I'm like,
I downloaded that shit immediately.
Damn, man. I knew I wasn't gonna get you. I think you was like kind of just finishing Devil's May Cry.
Yeah.
So that's damn.
Been putting them hours in, man.
What you think of that game?
I love it, dog. I love it. Oh, I played with Dante. So Dante update. My favorite character in the game, no doubt. He's got the fist. He's got the icicle, like the nunchucks, the triple nunchucks that turn into a staff.
Yeah.
The story, I'm not crazy about it, but people don't come to Devil May Cry for the story.
They come for the fighting.
Yeah, they come for the fighting. The fighting is there. Like I said before, graphics are beautiful. Combat is fluid. It is kind of short, like I said last week, but I'm going to be playing it again and again and again.
Is it going to be any DLCs and stuff added to it?
I'm sure. There's already microtransactions.
Is it worth $60? Because I do want to play. I mean, I still want it. That's why I haven't been watching your streams.
You can wait till like 50, 40.
$34.99.
That's a specific ass price, $34.99.
That was specific.
That's my sweet spot right there before I buy a game.
I'll say if you bought it at 40, you wouldn't be mad.
Okay. But 60 is a little pushing it because it seems like you beat it quick.
I did.
But you beat the game fast. I know I'm gonna beat the game pretty fast if I focus on it.
You ain't got. You beat Division. You're already at level 30 in Division, man.
Cause I've been putting in work.
And you'll put in work at everything
That's
you
what
play.
I'm saying. Yeah, look, I don't play around. I don't play around with this. So Google announced that they coming out with Stadia. Is that I'm saying that right?
Yes.
Yeah, the Stadia streaming service. What y'all think of that? Because I think that could be a game changer if done correctly.
If done right. The thing about it with me, because I watched the whole keynote when it came on, I was like, at first I was like, this could be a problem for consoles. And then as they were going and explaining it, I was like, well, maybe not yet, because it's a lot of questions that I had after it was all said and done. It looks like the idea of it looks great. Yeah, you have a console in the cloud that has no lag, and you can like automatically just play on any device you want. It's a tablet, a fucking TV, a computer, whatever it is, and you don't have to really worry about buying a game, buying a console, and it's supposed to run as smooth as you can possibly get at 4K and 60 frames a second with no lag and none of that. So it all on paper sounds fucking amazing, but I'm like, okay. One, of course, how much is that going to cost us? Because it's going to be a monthly subscription or a monthly thing. You're not going to just pay a one set price and be done with it. But also, how reliable is this cloud server? Because like they haven't really tested it out to the masses yet. We don't know how it's going to really just run if it's going to run as smooth as they say it is. What game they have some third party developers who are already going to be a part of it. Like Doom Eternal is going to be on Stadia. So, and that's a very high graphically intensive game. And runs super fast. So, I'm just interested to see what they do with it. Because I think this summer they're going to like unveil more about it, and they're saying it's going to drop this year. So when that shit drops, I just want to see what it is. I don't think it's immediately going to replace consoles yet, because you're going to have a lot of people who are still skeptical. It's got to just run through that first round of seeing what it's going to be. So I don't know. It's just I'm just waiting to see it. But the concept is interesting to me. It's something that I would try out, definitely. And then it also depends on like if your internet does like depend on it, because it's still got to come to your device or your computer, whatever it is. So unless they find a way to convert whatever internet or device you're using to match that level without it sacrificing or any conversion, then I'm still thinking, or you might have to buy Google Fiber, or you might have to get some kind of service that they're going to tie on, because everything's all integrated in the Google system, like YouTube and Google Assistant. It's all Google. Everything is just Google. Yep. So, and then also made me think, well, what about Twitch streaming? Like, how are you going to integrate Twitch? If they're pushing this YouTube thing so much, are you going to be able to Twitch with Stadia? Because if not, that's going to be a whole nother market that's left out of that shit. And Twitch is, as far as live streaming, Twitch is bigger than YouTube. So, like, I just want to know how they're going to answer those questions down the line. That's me. But it looks interesting. Do
you think, like, other big video games company like Microsoft or Sony can kind of try to do their own streaming thing? Or well, PlayStation kind of already got theirs, don't they, with PS Now?
Well, the thing about Google is integrated into everything. Google is like a monster as far as integration and, Google has its hands in everything, so they have the infrastructure to be able to do this. PlayStation, Microsoft, they don't, like, to that magnitude. So what they were explaining is they have this pretty much God-level cloud server that will run 4K games at 60 frames. Or it said even it go up to 8K eventually. Yeah. Like 8K, like that shit don't even like really exist. It barely exists. So you're saying you have a game that will run 8K with no lag instantly? Boom. Like I'm like, okay, like it's got to be a catch. It's got to be something. Yeah. It just sounds too good to be true. It sounds too flashy to be true to me. So I'm just going to wait and see what they say later on down the year. And if it does live up to everything they say, then it will be a problem eventually for consoles, because it's going to really be like, okay, we might not need it. It's not going to completely eradicate consoles though, because like I don't think Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo is going to automatically, just like, forfeit. They're gonna still fight to keep their spot when Stadia comes out, and I don't think Stadia is gonna have to really bring some good, because they have a first party development team now. Again, Stadia,
they do.
So they have to have some good first parties. They already got some good developers on team with them. So, Doom Eternal is coming out. I've been waiting for Doom Eternal. So I'll try out Doom Eternal on the console and on Stadia just to see the difference. That'll be because I'm going to get that game automatically. So I'll see how it plays on my PlayStation compared to how it plays on Stadia. And also that controller they came out with too. Yeah.
Just like
it looks,
PlayStation.
It looks like a blur between PlayStation X. It looks like a blur between all three, but they got the Google Assistant where you can like ask for like help in the game.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, hey, how do I get past this part? I think that's cool, but like me being in the game, I like to figure shit out. So I feel like kind of shitty, like, oh, I can't figure this out. So let me ask Google to help me out real quick, because it just takes away from the fun and the challenge of the game. But that's cool for people who are casual gamers. So I don't know. What y'all think?
They were really pushing the kind of the casual market, like at first.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we want everybody to be able to game, even if you don't want to buy a console, which I think is great. And I was like, yeah, this, whatever, I get it. And then they started talking about specs and stuff, and that's when my ears perked up, like, huh? Like, what's about to happen?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be a console killer within 10 years or anything like that. But maybe eventually we'll all be going to the cloud, because people don't really buy movies like that anymore. We just stream them. So who knows? I don't know if I'm excited right now. I'm more interested.
I'm interested. It's like, it's just not enough that they told us. They kind of gave us the I forget the name of, I don't know how to explain it, but they gave us like this little like good like sales pitch, the 15-second pitch. Yeah, they gave a good 15-second pitch to really get your ears perked up. Okay, but they didn't say anything about how much, how it's going to work for us as consumers, how we're going to be able to, what games, they're working on, or other than Doom Eternal, but what other games that they'll...
Assassins.
Yeah, well, they did that as their test. They use that as their test game.
But they said this is not a test.
Yeah, but they said, that's not a test. This time it's not a test. They said it's going to run. So I just want to see, what they do with it. Because if it does come off exactly as they said, and they can do everything they live up to, then it would be a very interesting and probably a really dope idea. Like, if they can get if all the developers are on board with it, and then they put out games on Stadia too, like all of our favorite games can be put out there, then that might be a reason to not even when the next generation comes out to even get a console, if they're going to still put them on that.
So would y'all be okay with having to be online to play your game?
Not just in terms of the idea of, are we cool with being online, having to be online in order to play our games, but what about the people that live in more rural areas that aren't necessarily going to have access to like Google Fiber and like the internet speed that you would probably need in order to like make that work? So I feel like that's going to keep a lot of people like out of that even being an option. Because, not everybody is living in the city where you can get like those higher internet speeds,
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking too. Because the one thing I realized that they didn't say, they said, oh, you can have this no matter what, how powerful your computer is, but they never said anything about how strong your internet is. Right. They never said that. And that's the key. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can have a stock level laptop that costs me $200 and I can play Stadia smoothly, but my internet's got to be what? They didn't say anything like that.
Right.
And they purposely didn't say anything like that because they want to, I guess they're going to figure out the logistics of that. Because like if you're in Wyoming or like, Idaho, where in the middle of nowhere and you don't have Google Fiber, like how are you going to be able to play that? So yeah.
You probably still could play it at 240p.
But that defeats the purpose of getting it then. Like, you might as well just go get your
an exaggeration, but maybe like 480 or something like that.
Stadia is amazing. 240p?
And for a casual...
10 frames a second, I'm in that bitch.
For casual gamers, they probably don't care. I mean, they don't care as much.
They will never
like
enjoy that.
32-bit Doom Eternal.
And they're going to have the trial, the 7-day trial. Try it out.
Of course.
Man.
Oh, yeah, they're going to do a trial period, of course. And then I'm sure they're going to have you integrate your Google account, blah, blah, blah. And this and that. They're going to have this whole thing where you're just going to be completely linked into this whole Stadia system. And, you can live stream like directly through your YouTube or post clips directly from the gameplays to your YouTube. So they just want to, keep it all, which I think is okay, but it's just, we don't know how well this is really going to work until we see it in the real world. Not like, okay, at a convention or this and that. I want to see how the motherfucker in the middle of nowhere is playing Stadia compared to someone in, a major city with Google Fiber.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting concept though. And so I'm kind of like interested to see how as they release more details and you start to get, that information about, what kind of internet do you have? Like how are they planning on, kind of capitalizing on all the things that they can capitalize on in terms of like, oh, now you need Google Fiber so that you can play this game and like all that other stuff. So I'm kind of interested to see at the very least like how this all formulates and becomes bigger.
Like they were talking about multiple GPUs and 10.7 teraflops. And
I'm these are crazy numbers y'all are throwing out.
Yeah.
I'm like, these are insane numbers you're throwing out. And if you're saying you can do this like that, you better be able to do that shit. Like, you can't have one, because like now you're stepping into the gaming market. You're Google. Yeah, you got a name, but you're stepping into this gaming market and you're saying we're going to give you something that none of these consoles can do. Because all these consoles are limited by their hardware. You can't push it to the limit. We're not going to give you any limits. You can do whatever you want if you're a developer. And as a player, you can play wherever you want and you can have the best experience. So if you don't have, if it doesn't live up to that at one point at all, then that whole shit was bullshit. And they're just going to be like another, company trying to just get into the gaming industry. So they really have to make sure everything is signed, sealed, ready to go with no flaws or issues when this thing goes live 100%. Because they're making a big statement. They're making a real big statement. They're pretty much saying, we're about to change the gaming industry. Yeah.
And they have
what they said.
They have backing from the industry.
And they have the ability to do it, but they just better do that shit the way that they said.
They better knock it out the park.
The first time they got one shot at this because everybody's got their. It's now we got the attention.
Yep.
So now it's like, okay, what you gonna do with it? And they're saying this year. I was thinking maybe next year. They said 2019. It's just going to drop. So
for the record, Google fucks everything up. It's not.
I was waiting. I knew I was waiting for Ken to say that because I knew he was going to say.
If this was Apple, I'll be all ready for that shit.
There's a history of doing this. Jumping in the shit that you have no business jumping in.
And I knew Ken was going. I was waiting for him to say that because I know he's going to be like, man, Google always fuck shit up. He always been saying that for years.
We'll see. We're just going to see.
Sounds awfully pessimistic. I'm assuming a Safari user, Ken.
No, Chrome. But Chrome.
Oh, okay. No, I use Chrome, but I mean, just saying.
Fucking up too.
I'm still using that shit.
Still using it.
Firefox and a new browser called Brave.
Oh, okay. Brave. I'll have to check that one out.
Trailblazer.
So the next on the news, I know Tyler probably have a lot to say about this, is Apex Legends. They got a new battle season 1 pass, the Wild Frontier pass. What you think of that?
So I haven't gotten a chance to get on it yet. I'm definitely looking forward to doing that probably as soon as I get home, actually. But basically, so their season 1 starts today. It doesn't have a whole lot of super elaborate content, but what did come out today is you get some new skins, new loot and stuff like that. That's all a part of this battle. This season 1 battle pass. And then also they released a new character today named Octane that's kind of moves really fast, has jump pads that the whole team can use. My understanding is that he can kind of sacrifice health for speed and move really fast. And then he also has unlimited stems or something like that so he can heal himself. So really interesting to see how that character will kind of fit into the whole dynamic with the 8 characters that everybody else has already kind of gotten used to playing, and seeing people kind of everybody trying to learn how to use this character effectively at the same time. Because that was one of the dope things about Apex the first day it came out, is that everybody was on relatively even playing field. Of course, you have people that, spend a lot of time on battle royales or are really good at first person shooters, and they're going to have an advantage over people who aren't. But for example, nobody knew where all the good stuff was on the map yet. Everybody was kind of starting off on the same level. So that was one thing that was really interesting about the first day of Apex, that has kind of shifted now that people have had the opportunity to put so many hours into it. So now today we have this new character that nobody's really gotten a chance to play with yet. And that kind of adds a new level of excitement to the game. So I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing, the new loot they have, the new character and all of that. So there's exciting things happening in Apex today.
Are you interested in buying it? The pass?
Yeah, I'm buying it. Oh, okay. That's a done deal. I haven't bought it yet.
Apex got me.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't buy it earlier is I didn't have time, before I came here. But, that's a wrap.
What's this they talking about on here? The Mozambique. Yeah, what about that? About the flooding crisis and stuff? Philanthropy or whatever.
Well, it's actually a really dope and kind of heartwarming story. So the Mozambique has a reputation for being the worst gun in the game, which it is. But it's kind of a running gag at this point where everybody kind of makes jokes about it. And so, like, what ended up happening is on, like, Reddit, basically, because people are paying attention to this whole idea of, like, Mozambique being the worst gun. It came up that there was this humanitarian crisis in the actual country of Mozambique, and somebody posted it on Reddit, and then this like flood of like incoming donations from Apex players and Apex fans donating to like kind of helping Mozambique get things back together after this disaster that they had. So I just feel like that's a really heartwarming story. You hear a lot of stories about, you know, the gaming community being toxic and stuff like that, but that's one of those things that you hear and it's like, aw.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna
That's
say.
dope though. That people are willing to, you know, take something from a video game that was quote unquote a joke or a meme and then really apply it to something that's real world and something for good too. So the fact that they did that was really cool. So shout out to Apex. They're doing everything right, even in and out the community. I like that.
And shout out to gamers, because we do get a bad rap a lot, sometimes deservedly so, from the vocal minority. But yeah, that's dope. Keep doing what you're doing.
All right, so I'm getting ready to start the next topic that I think a lot of people have been waiting on since the cliffhanger of last week.
Are we there already?
Yes, we are here. Okay, so just get ready. All right, strap on your seatbelts, do whatever, strap your gun, do whatever you need to pull out, get ready for it. Boxing gloves, whatever. But Mortal Kombat Street Fighter talk, and I think the question was posed. Read this question real quick. Shout out to Kevin. Shout out to Kevin for getting the show together. The question said, could we have Mortal Kombat without Street Fighter?
No.
Why?
Street Fighter invented the fighting game as we currently know it.
It invented?
As we currently know it.
Interesting.
So different points first.
What you mean? Yeah, obviously, what you mean by like
go ahead and get it out your system, and then we'll
being able to select different characters, literally resuscitating the arcade as a whole, bringing people to the arcade when they were not there. There was a crash at the time, much like there was a video game crash when Mario came out and saved that industry. That's really all I have to say so far. I'll be listening.
I'll be listening. Look how smooth he sound when he said
I'll be listening.
I'll be listening.
Well, I have prepared a PowerPoint presentation.
Look, that's why. This is why you do not go up against the Black Queen. You get me?
Look at his face. Like,
this is why the Black Queen is the best piece in the chessboard. Okay.
Why Mortal Kombat matters more than Street Fighter. A presentation by Tyler Durden.
I love it. I'm just sitting here for the show.
So
go ahead, Tyler. Shut it down.
Okay, but for real though. Okay, so the thing is, like, to kind of reiterate something that I said last week, something that Willie said, something that BZ said, like, we're not saying that Street Fighter didn't have an impact. Like, of course Street Fighter had an impact on, like, fighting games, on, like you said, kind of subsequently revitalizing the arcade industry. Like, that absolutely happened. However, like, the reach that Mortal Kombat had, like, the way that it irrevocably shifted the gaming industry, like, Street Fighter simply didn't do that. So, I want to start with this quote. Hold on, it's going off for it. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. So, I'm going to start with this quote. It was the beginning of video games coming of age. At one point in time, games were just meant for children, and nobody really took them seriously. But it was with the launch of Mortal Kombat that people who controlled the media began to look at it differently. And that's from the co-founder of Acclaim Entertainment. His name is Gregory, like, Fishbach. So, yeah, like I said, like, the reach that Mortal Kombat had went further than just like fighting games and arcades. Like, it like brought into a conversation about like video games and like the space that they occupied in our society. So like, so to go to your point about like Mortal Kombat copied off of Street Fighter.
I didn't say that.
I didn't say that.
So actually,
would Mortal Kombat exist without Street Fighter?
Right. So I'm getting there now. Okay. So actually, see, every single time I like kind of pause and then like
Samsung.
have to, right, you know what I'm saying? I got to go back.
Even Samsung know you wrong. They ain't got time for it. So, the question of the debate, would Mortal Kombat exist without Street Fighter? No, it would not.
Okay, so Mortal Kombat was actually like begun development in 1991 when Midway was approached about doing a video game adaptation of the movie Universal Soldier. Are you gonna let me finish?
Yes.
It don't sound like it.
Go on.
It's like Donald Trump and me, like I'm Hillary Clinton right now in the debate, and he just keeps like cutting me off. So like basically, they were approached about doing this video game adaptation, and that ended up falling through. But like Mortal Kombat's first original character, Johnny Cage, was actually kind of based off of this whole thing because like Universal Soldier had Jean-Claude Van Damme in it, right? As you can see by the resemblance, like obviously they're very similar, right? So actually, like, the creators of Mortal Kombat quote Karate Champ as their main influence, like, not Street Fighter. Like, granted, yes, Mortal Kombat came out after Street Fighter, but, like, specifically they were going after making a game that was similar to Karate Champ, but, like, less cartoony as most of the games were that, like, came out at this time. So, like, the creators of Mortal Kombat, like, specifically referenced that they did that, and they specifically also talk about how they went out of their way to make Street Fighter, like, to make Mortal Kombat very different from Street Fighter, because they did not want that comparison to be drawn. So, moving on, like I said, like in terms of the reach of Mortal Kombat, like Mortal Kombat was brought into conversations about like whether or not video games were protected by the First Amendment, like protection of free speech, like literally going up to the Supreme Court about whether or not video games were protected under the First Amendment. And so like that's the kind of reach that game had. Like the two video games mentioned in the congressional hearings about video games in 1992 were Mortal Kombat and Night Trap. These hearings resulted in the establishment of the ESRB rating system. Hold on. In 1994, which is still used to this day and completely shifted the video game industry immensely. And that's like, again, something that we still use today, and it completely changed the way that like the video game industry was operating at the time. So, because of the obvious rift between gamers on the one hand and adult society on the other, Mortal Kombat set the tone for what constituted gamer culture. I think that's another worthwhile quote. Oh, there's also a quote from Time Magazine. Hold on. I actually found this quote after I'd already made my PowerPoint presentation. Let's see here. Time Magazine. The reason why the 1992 classic remains seminal is because it broke an implicit taboo about what was okay to put in a video game. And that's from Time Magazine. So, like I said, yes, Street Fighter did have a big impact on fighting games. But, like, when you look at just overall, like I said, the gaming industry, like the place that video games hold in society, like the First Amendment, like the Supreme Court was not talking about Street Fighter. So, like, I have more that I could say, but right. I'll relinquish this one. Wait, one more thing. Okay, so in terms of like another point that people bring up, which is that like Street Fighter like has grossed more than Mortal Kombat. Like Mortal Kombat did not do as well in Japan because it was censored. Mortal Kombat 2 was also banned in Germany from 1994 to 2005, and Mortal Kombat 9 was banned in several countries, including Australia, Germany, and South Korea, which is very obviously going to impact sales. So I think that that's a worthwhile thing to point out as it relates to growth. And in conclusion, fuck Street Fighter. I'll just play. Okay, listen, let me say this for real though. Like, all jokes aside, I don't hate Street Fighter. I don't think that Street Fighter is a bad game, and I've said this before. And like I said, it's absolutely had an impact on the gaming industry. And when you're talking about the preference of play style or like gameplay, like I personally don't like the gameplay of Street Fighter, but that's a very subjective opinion. Like, I think it's completely okay for people to have different opinions about that. However, when it comes to like what game actually had the biggest impact on the gaming industry as we know it, and like shifted the gaming industry as we know it, like I feel like trying to put Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter in that instance is absolutely preposterous. Okay.
Cool. Would Mortal Kombat exist without Street Fighter? Because you didn't answer the question.
I didn't answer that question?
I was waiting on it.
I mean, were you listening? Do I need to go back a couple slides?
When you pulled your quotes, did you skip over all of the it was the success of Street Fighter 2 that convinced Midway to let the team produce their own game?
But they already had that idea in place, though. Like, that's come down, like, that comes down to who's holding the purse strings, you know what I'm saying? Who says, oh, okay, well, this game is successful, so now you can do this. But, like Ed Boon and, like, John Tobias and, like, all those people had already, like, wanted to do a game like this before that even happened.
So wanting to do a game and doing a game are different. Would Mortal Kombat exist without Street Fighter?
They're not that different.
They are different. Very different.
All right, hold on.
Because there's the execution of plans.
Yeah, but if you already started on a game,
exactly,
that means
no. Start? No.
Yeah, if they were already if they were already working on the game,
and they like said
the game was already the idea for the game was already.
An idea is motion. An idea is not a product.
But the thing about it is Midway, who was signing the checks, Midway was signing the checks. they were like, we don't know if this game's gonna sell. But then when Street Fighter came out and it was doing well, okay, we'll let you do your little fighting game. Now, yeah, you're saying, would Street Fighter exist will Mortal Kombat exist without Street Fighter? Probably not, because Street Fighter came out first and it really set the motivation, but that game was already, it was still going to be done.
And that's why
it was not going to be done.
But that's why I disagree with that.
Exactly, because the idea, it's not like they saw Street Fighter, now we got to make a game, and they went to go make Mortal Kombat.
Right.
That shit was already in development.
It was not in development. It was in their heads.
That's not development?
No.
That's where your idea starts, is in your head. That's the first development, is in your head. When you have an idea, what does it develop? In your mind. And then you have to put it in process.
It's not a product.
What do you...
It starts somewhere.
Somebody had to greenlight it, right?
Yeah.
Right? So no matter who greenlit it or what the reason was.
Let me ask you this.
Mortal Kombat would not exist.
Wait, hold on. Let me ask you this.
Willie said probably not, and I'm fine to move on from that topic.
Let me ask you this. So are you saying that the developers of Mortal Kombat saw Street Fighter and said, "Oh, we got to make a fighting game"?
Nope.
Okay, so then that, from what you're saying before, is like, well, with Mortal Kombat wouldn't exist without Street Fighter. Basically, I'm getting what you're trying to say is that because of the success of Street Fighter, there would be no success for Mortal Kombat. Is that what you're trying to say?
That is what I'm saying.
Okay, so
that's false.
That's false. Because
that is not false.
Listen.
That is false.
Tell me how it's false.
Okay, Street Fighter 1 came out. It wasn't even a fighting game.
I said Street Fighter 2. I said Street Fighter 2.
First of all, it took them their second try to get it right.
And they did get it right. But I said Street Fighter 2. I specified Street Fighter 2. So when
Street Fighter 2 came out, yeah. So when Mortal Kombat dropped, it automatically, first of all, it was one of the best-selling games. They had Mortal Monday. That shit they sold 2 million copies of that game. Yeah. That shit was crazy.
It was
then
crazy.
When the sequel came out, they did even better. Even better.
And
while Street Fighter 2 was still Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting. They were holding on to that shit as much as they could because they were afraid to make a 3 because it was probably good because because Mortal Kombat was whooping their ass in sales already. So they were, bruh, look, think about it. If they came out with Street Fighter 3 after the success of Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, it's automatically going to be a comparison. Okay, well, how's Street Fighter 3 going to do? Now, Mortal Kombat was already doing the things where, okay, we did this, now let's enhance.
And movies.
Street Fighter didn't do anything to enhance. They just made game speeds faster. They added characters, but they stepped with the formula.
That sounds like enhancements to me. That sounds like enhancements.
Let me go back. Street Fighter 2. The games, I'm trying to give you your point. Okay. But listen, Mortal Kombat 2. First of all, when Mortal Kombat 1 came out, it was the first game of its look because they used real people. They used cartoons.
Yes.
They first with the blood. Yes. We on that. When it came out again, it was like, okay, so how do we enhance on that? How do we make this thing that we have now even better? And then then they go to 3, and then they do everything like that. And I will give it, at some point, Mortal Kombat fell in this little lull when they started doing all this other games and shit.
Yes.
After they went 3D with Mortal Kombat 4, that's when shit kind of went south, but they picked it back up, and I'll give them that. Street Fighter, I'm not taking anything away from Street Fighter, Eric.
And I'm not taking anything from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
Let me say
what
that now.
I'm saying is, those two franchises, even though they technically came out at the same time,
one came out first.
Technically came out a year apart. They came out a year apart. Technically, they have went on, even though they're both fighting games, they have went 2 completely different paths.
That is true.
In the culture.
That is true, and they've been different from jump.
Yeah.
But like I said,
but you can't say outside of the fact from it being the first successful fighting game, which is Street Fighter, because it came out first. There's no real other reason you can say without Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat wouldn't exist, because Mortal Kombat paved its own way the moment it dropped. The moment it came out, it set its own path immediately outside of being a fighting game.
And Karate Champ came out in 1984.
Karate Champ is not a good game, and nobody gives a fuck about
That's irrelevant.
Not a good game.
Street Fighter 2 is, though.
But
they said that was their influence.
So
you can't just brush that off. Like, you can't say that, like, this game that influenced them, that came out a solid ass 7 years before any of this even happened, that, like, Mortal Kombat just would never have existed because, like, that just doesn't make sense.
If that's the case, Mortal Kombat existed once for karate.
Yeah.
The karate.
I guess I'll reread the quote. It was the success of Street Fighter 2 that finally convinced Midway Games to let
Midway
doesn't matter.
Not John Tobias and Ed Boon who created the shit.
Let me get this point.
Okay.
That convinced Midway Games to let the team produce their own arcade fighting game. So yes, they had the idea. I'm not saying they are innovative. I'm not saying it did not have a cultural impact. Right? But Mortal Kombat owes Street Fighter. So I get offended when people say
everybody, you can say everybody owes Street Fighter in some way, shape, or form because they were the first.
Yes.
Killer Instinct, Tekken, all them games owe Street Fighter.
Like Tyler said, Karate Champ was the first like popular fighting game, right?
I didn't say it was the first popular fighting game. I said it was like a specifically quoted inspiration for Mortal Kombat. Like, that's what I said. Like, if you're trying to draw this like direct parallel, this like linear connection between like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat because Street Fighter came out first, that means that Mortal Kombat is like a direct descendant of Street Fighter. And that, I just don't agree with that.
It is not similar in gameplay.
But you're saying...
Let me ask you this then, Eric. So, because I'm going to ask you this, I'm going to put it in point. Because we're talking about two games. This is completely different. It's two games, and you tell me which one. So, we have first-person shooters, GoldenEye, Halo. Mm-hmm. Think about those two games, right? Now, didn't Halo came out after GoldenEye, right?
Yes.
But didn't GoldenEye kind of set the tone for the first-person shooter? So, what game would you say down the line has more influence or impact, Halo or GoldenEye?
We talking Halo 1?
Doesn't matter. I'm just talking about the
It does matter.
Halo 1.
Okay.
Halo 1 or GoldenEye?
GoldenEye.
So you're going to say GoldenEye. So even though... So you're going to... get a cup. So you're going to say GoldenEye over Halo?
Yeah, as most
as far as influence. Okay. So... Why can't that be the same thing if I'm saying like if one game came out, so what is the difference then? Like what does it matter when games come out then? If you're saying one has an influence, one has if it's the same thing. So why does it matter like after the fact of being fighting games and the success? Why can't Mortal Kombat just be Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter just be Street Fighter?
They are.
Right.
They are
so
separate
why do you
entities.
have to have this parallel saying you're making it seem like Street Fighter technically birthed every other fighting game that came out.
Yes.
So
that's all I said last
week.
But y'all couldn't agree with that.
But look, that's like saying Mario birthed every platforming game that ever came out. Right, but you can't say that those other games that have made their own legacies, owe everything to Mario or everything to Street Fighter.
Or would not exist without them.
It would not
exist. If Street Fighter died tomorrow, is Mortal Kombat going to die?
We're talking about influence. We're talking about back in the day.
Hold on. All right. This is a chicken versus the egg. Which came first?
Exactly.
It's not a chicken versus egg. It's fucking linear. What are you talking about?
No, it isn't. This is what came first, the chicken or the egg. The point of the matter is the idea, the conception for the idea, the process of this whole thing started with what game?
Karate.
In what year?
1984.
What year did Street Fighter come out?
First one, 87.
87 was the first. The one we're talking about. Let's talk about the one we're talking about. Street Fighter 2, which really was the fighting game, 1991.
But regardless, all of that is still irrelevant because if they had an idea for a game that they were inspired by that came out in 1984, then the original idea, the conception for the idea started and whenever they came up with the idea for the game.
Yeah.
It didn't come out when Street Fighter released the game.
You gonna lie.
How am I lying?
Mortal Kombat would not exist without the success of Street Fighter.
You're wrong.
All right, you're stubborn and you're wrong.
I'm not wrong. We're talking about. You said that.
I have a direct quote. What are you talking about?
That direct quote doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything.
It makes the entire point.
Wait a minute, kid. Time out, man.
He's ruining your argument.
That means nothing. You're talking about how the actual game hit the shelves. I'm talking about the idea, the ideation.
No, I get you. And that's what we were saying
of the game.
This is
in other words,
it was not created, Ken.
This wasn't pre-shelf. The idea to create something and begin to work on something is the origin, is the genesis of an actual product. Yes, it is, bro. I don't understand how you come up with an idea.
The idea is the product.
We're not talking product. We're talking about the idea of the game.
I'm done talking to Ken.
What are you talking about?
I'm with him on that. Like, you can't
he's trying to base it on a quote.
If I have an idea for an album, so I have to write the music, I have to do all this stuff. Before I even have a physical product, I have to develop it in my mind. I have to come up with the words in my head. I have to find the people who make the beats. I have to come up with the beats in their head. So all that stuff has to be put together. But if somebody comes out and drops an album that's like mine a year before me, and it sets the tone and it's the same thing or similar. Oh, now because of them, like what they did, my shit is like directly influenced. No, I could have been working on that shit for 5 years.
But they did no work.
How do you know that?
How do you know that?
It says it right here.
You know,
what it
do you know
says?
John Tobias and Ed Boon? Do you know what they were doing? Like they did purpose. Like, well, we going this. Let's try this. Let's try that. Maybe we want to have this character. Or what if we had this type of character? And what if they didn't have the money? What if they didn't have a developer? What if Midway didn't believe in them until, like you said, Midway held the money. So they were just employees of Midway. Right. So they could have been trying to push this game for a while.
So when Midway
and it wasn't until Midway was like, oh, okay, so fighting games do sell. Okay, you can have your little game.
So Street Fighter 2 got the green light first.
Right. They probably saw the concept. Wait a minute, there's blood in this game. We can't sell this. And then it was like, well, it's a fighting game first of all. And then there's blood and then all this stuff. I don't think this is going to sell. We don't want to do this. And then Street Fighter went and said, well, maybe we'll give it a shot. And they gave them a chance and it blew up. So, like, I don't see how you're saying because the idea wasn't a physical product that it doesn't count. That counts,
I didn't say
bro.
It doesn't count. It does not count. It does not count as a product.
We're not saying the product. We're saying the idea of the game.
Niggas have ideas every day, B.
Okay. Nigga, I know that, right? So they have an idea. But what you're saying is Street Fighter would not exist. First of all, you said Street Fighter wouldn't exist without Mortal Kombat. Then you switched it to the success of Street Fighter, which I agree with you more because that success gave Midway the confidence to put out that game that John Tobias and Ed Boon were working on probably around the same time or prior. And they said it themselves, Street Fighter is not a direct influence for our game. And we want to do everything to separate ourselves because that's what people are going to do. Because that was the standard at the time before Mortal Kombat came out with Street Fighter.
I'm not saying they aren't different games.
No, and last week you literally said the words that like Street Fighter 2, blah, 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 like everything after it copied it. Like those were the exact words that you used. You said that every fighting game after Street Fighter copied Street Fighter.
Question. What was the prompt again?
Huh?
What was the prompt again?
What prompt?
The topic.
But just because you typed the prompt out that way, like last week we were talking about like which one is more influential.
First of all, you never should have let him frame that question even that way.
Wait. Wait.
We're talking about which one is more influential, right?
Yes.
We're talking about two things sort of that are kind of tangential. Which one had the most influence and whether or not Mortal Kombat would exist without Street Fighter.
So can you admit that Mortal Kombat would not exist without Street Fighter so we can move on?
No, because that's not true.
Like, y'all are literally trying to rewrite history. Like, that's why I said it's factual. Let me read the quote one more time, okay?
Who gives
No. Listen. Because y'all keep saying, oh, they were producing the game. They were thinking about it. No. The success of Street Fighter convinced them to let the team produce. They hadn't done shit yet. All they had was the idea.
You know what goes on? Okay,
they had something. They had something, bro.
You know you need money to produce a game, right?
Something. You
know they gotta give you a budget.
Yes.
So if you have an idea, but you ain't got no fucking money, and the developer's like, okay, we'll let you do it. Here's the money. Go get your motion capture. Go get your if you're just stuck there with an idea,
the idea don't just poof out your head when you get the money.
So basically your argument.
They didn't do any work because they didn't have the money or the funds to do the work. You know, games are expensive.
I agree.
But hold on, basically you're saying that because Street Fighter got the green light first, because they got the money first, that means that like everything that anybody else was doing or thinking is invalid.
Right.
I never said it was invalid. That is straw manning. What I said. I said
basically.
Wait. No. Street Fighter did it right as well, and it was successful at it. And that's why they're like, that's why we'll give you the money. We agree there, right?
I agree that Street Fighter was Street Fighter 2 set the precedent, and it was very successful, and it gave more developers the confidence to work on fighting games. But Mortal Kombat, like I said, when that came out, it changed everything.
And I don't disagree.
Everything.
I don't disagree. Okay?
So what's the problem?
I'm going to tell you. What's
the problem?
When I said...
But it does not hinge on Street Fighter's legacy. It does not hinge on Street Fighter at all after its initial release. It cemented its own legacy the initial time it dropped in.
Okay, right. So my sentence last week was, can we all just agree that Mortal Kombat wouldn't exist without Street Fighter?
The success of Mortal Kombat
it's still
would not have caused Midway to want to produce.
The semantics don't matter.
No, that is yes, it does.
Wait. Yes, it does. Let me talk.
Shit. It does.
All y'all had to do was say
it's business 101 now.
All y'all had to do was say yeah.
No, not if you're wrong.
Because the questions change.
What kind of sense does that make?
What did I say?
Stupid as shit.
What did I say? Well, y'all are so no. I don't think Wooly. I don't think Wooly is stuff, but definitely Ken, definitely Tyler.
You're wrong, bro.
Maybe B. I haven't even said my sentence yet. I don't think.
You said a lot of sentences that are wrong.
What it is.
I don't need to hear you say it again.
Y'all love Mortal Kombat so much.
off the chair right now.
Y'all love Mortal Kombat so much that y'all can't admit that it literally would not exist. Like, why are y'all so upset by the literal facts?
I got a question.
I don't even like Mortal Kombat like that. You're still just wrong.
How?
And that's just the thing. Like, I'm not a Mortal Kombat stan, but the facts are the facts.
What are the facts?
The facts are the facts is the idea for the game came from what game?
Karate Champ.
What year did Street Fighter come out?
91.
Okay, so the idea, the conception, the idea to want to do something was already there and in place based on something else that was in existence. And they wanted to and started to work on the product.
What was my question last week? What was my question last week? Would Mortal Kombat exist?
Your question last week? Your fucking question today?
No, y'all get me there. Y'all get me there. No.
Your question next fucking month?
No.
You can say
Mortal Kombat exists without Street Fighter.
And you're wrong.
An idea is not existence.
An idea
is not existence. An idea is not a product. I've said it several times.
So you saying, yes it is.
You
You're
can
wrong.
think shit all you want. I can't play with your idea.
You can think shit, you can write it down.
I can't
start working on it. You start working on it.
What are you talking about?
You start working on it.
Talking about?
You can print it out.
Make money.
Bro,
Products make money.
dog. Like that's the most ignorant shit I ever heard.
Maybe if we phrase this a different way.
The fucking idea is not like when you start on something. You start on an idea. You start writing the fucking shit down. You start working on business plans. You start doing all kind of shit like
all
that.
the shit you want.
That is the fucking product.
It wouldn't exist as a product without Street Fighter.
Wait. Everybody. I feel like the semantics and the phrasing are important here.
Yes,
like you can say that like Midway would not have given the green light for Mortal Kombat if it were not for the success of Street Fighter, and that would be true. However, you cannot say, unless you have a fucking time machine to go back in time and like erase Street Fighter from the face of the earth, that like Mortal Kombat would not possibly have still made its way out some way or another if the idea and the inspiration was already there for it. Like, because you're saying like if your whole like argument hinges on the idea that like Mortal Kombat copied Street Fighter, is in like the sense that like Mortal Kombat wouldn't exist without Street Fighter because that's where they got the idea from. Like we're saying that that's wrong.
Never said it.
You said literally. I wish we had like the tapes to roll back. You said the words last week.
We know.
Tell me what I said.
Everything after Street Fighter copied it. You used the word copy.
Street Fighter 2. Because it popularized the fighting game genre. Everything after it copied it. We wouldn't have fighting games as they are if it were not for Street Fighter 2. So wait. No. Let me respond.
Okay, go ahead.
So if I said the word copied, I meant in the sense of being able to select different characters, being able to block, the combo system. That stuff did not exist without Street Fighter. If I said the word copied, then I misspoke.
Motherfuckers, like the whole, like in Karate Champ, motherfuckers was blocking, like literally the way that you like won a round is by getting a hit. You didn't have like a health bar or any of that. Like the way that you won a round was like by getting a hit. So motherfuckers was blocking. Like Street Fighter didn't invent blocking. So
Street Fighter invented the health bar? It was successful for some reason.
Look,
it is not because it was like Karate Champ.
This is all I'm saying, right? Like, okay, obviously Street Fighter was the one that was released first. And nobody's saying that like Street Fighter's legacy does not exist. Like, I can't speak for everybody else. What I can say, like, my specific beef is like with this sentence of Mortal Kombat would not exist without Street Fighter. What I can say, what I will agree with is that like Midway gave the green light for Mortal Kombat because of the success of Street Fighter. That is true. But to say that it would not exist, period, without Street Fighter, like, I don't feel that you have the evidence to say that.
Sure.
Okay, so
no.
And she checkmates.
Black woman.
So
that's it. That's pretty
Black
much
woman.
it. And me and you actually listen. And me and you actually agreed more about this topic than everyone else, surprisingly. But like your initial question, which was, is it more? It wouldn't exist. I agree completely with Tyler. Like, it does not matter if Street Fighter came out or not because that idea was already there, and it was going to come out at some point. Even if it didn't come out in 1992 when the game came out, or 91 whenever it came out, if it came out 5 years later, but if Street Fighter was never even put out, it would have still did the same impact that it did. The game still would have had that same shift in the whole industry.
Because it was completely different.
Because it was completely different. Even though it was a quote unquote fighting game, you couldn't do shit in any other game but Mortal Kombat that they had. You couldn't see blood. You couldn't knock somebody off into a pit of spikes. You couldn't have like fatalities or find secret characters, all that shit. None of that shit existed in any other fighting game.
And I agree that all of that was influential about Mortal Kombat. Okay? Now, maybe eventually, like, I would need a time machine, right? To really know if, I don't know, what without Street Fighter existing, would we really know? I don't know. So, but still.
But I completely acknowledge that Midway gave the green light because of the success of Street Fighter. That is a fact. That is not an opinion. But you raised your arms, and that's not what he said, though. Like, he didn't say, like, because of the success. He said, like, the words. You said that today.
Initially,
you
said Mortal Kombat wouldn't exist without Street Fighter because because Street Fighter came out first. That was your initial thought. And then it changed to, well, the success of it, because we had to kind of get shifted to that. That's what you really meant about it. But initially,
that is what I really meant about it.
No, but then you said it, and then you go back on it and be like, so it wouldn't exist without Street Fighter. It's like, no, that's not what we're saying. We're talking about the success. Like, you can't, like, include that word sometimes and not include it sometimes and be like, y'all motherfuckers won't admit you're wrong.
I never said that it copies, like, well, maybe I did. I gotta listen to it too. But I didn't say, Mortal Kombat ripped off Street Fighter. It's just like Street Fighter. If it was just like Street Fighter, then maybe it'd be a good fucking game. I'm joking. I'm joking.
At least now, but Mortal Kombat cares about its customers and don't just drop games to feed their own little ego unfinished.
So yeah, Street Fighter is fucking up right now. But
Mortal Kombat takes care of its people.
But it was very influential.
And kills them.
And Street Fighter is the father, like I said last week, I know I said this, of fighting games that followed it. King of Fighters, Art of Fighting, Killer Instinct, Samurai Showdown, Mortal Kombat.
But if it's the father, you're saying that it created that's not the same as being older. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that could be like an uncle-nephew relationship.
A founding father.
No.
Pioneer?
No.
Pioneer.
Basically Street Fighter.
That's not how fathering works.
Just to make it easy. Street Fighter showed the gaming industry that fighting games could be worldwide successful. It gave all these other developers, let's make a fighting game. Like, the green light. Let's put out our own fighting game. Now, I'm not saying that people didn't have ideas for this before, but Street Fighter just said, yeah, this is the new genre of player versus player games that we need to explore. And more, because after Street Fighter came out, and then especially after Mortal Kombat came out, that's when all the other fighters started showing up. If you think about it. Like,
no.
Bruh.
That's how long it took them to make the games.
No. I'm saying,
it only came out a year and a half later.
Is after the first one, and then after Street Fighter 2, and then Mortal Kombat, after the success of those two games, then you start seeing all these other fighters really pop up. And
people are already trying to copy Street Fighter 2 before Mortal Kombat.
Okay, but then look about the other games. So think about games like, even though they weren't, Killer Instinct was good, but Killer Instinct, it had blood, it had a dark tone, it didn't look nothing like Street Fighter. It didn't look like Mortal Kombat either. It didn't but you can see it had more, I wouldn't say info, but it had more elements that you would get in from a Mortal Kombat than a Street Fighter.
What game did it play like?
It played like no other game because it had a completely unique system with the combo system. So it played like its own game.
It does, right.
So it doesn't have any correlation.
But it's much more like Street Fighter in the gameplay.
But it did have fatals, which are fatalities.
So my theory...
And combo breakers and things like that. Street Fighter...
My theory on Killer Instinct is like... Killer Instinct is the best of both worlds between Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. It's not as gory as Mortal Kombat, but the gameplay in that game is good. And in Mortal Kombat, like I was, this is not the conversation we having, but I just wanted to put my point in there that I made a few weeks ago, was that Mortal Kombat, to me, isn't that fun before the fatality. Killer Instinct gave you all the feeling before the little fatality or knocking them off a building or whatever. So I think it has a lot of Street Fighter elements. I mean, the fucking controls are just like Street Fighter. They aren't like Mortal Kombat.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But it has those Mortal Kombat elements too.
Aesthetically, yeah.
It doesn't look like either of them.
I would say comparing the two, you would see it lends more to elements of Mortal Kombat than Street Fighter outside. Because you can say the button inputs but even those button inputs were very you know, you can say it's kind of like the both of them because like those button inputs were so unique for that combo system. That whole Killer Instinct combo system was ahead of its time.
It was
ahead of its time. The ultra combo, the way it worked out, the intricacy that you had to put to do a 30-hit combo or a 20-hit combo, whatever it is, like that shit like that didn't exist. And even to this day, it's still the best combo system of any fighting game. You know, I would have to say. So
I don't disagree.
Nah, you can don't. We ain't gonna do that. We ain't gonna go there.
What?
We don't have time.
We don't have time to talk about the combo system of Killer Instinct.
I just said I don't disagree. I said I don't disagree.
Okay, that's cool.
So are we going to address like this idea of which one is more influential, or are we just going to like stop at the idea of whether or not Mortal Kombat would exist without Street Fighter? Because I don't feel like we ever really got back to that idea of like influence.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, Street Fighter, Father, other games that came out. Other fighting games that came out, Street Fighter's children. Whether you want to call it gameplay-wise or corporate-wise or whatever. But Tekken, Soul Calibur, they would not exist without the success of Street Fighter.
Wait, are we talking about influence or are we talking about existing? I thought that's kind of like exactly what I was saying.
What do you mean?
We've like been concentrating on this idea of like, you know, which one came first.
Helping things exist.
So you're saying that because Street Fighter came out first, that its influence is greater than Mortal Kombat, like from an aggregate standpoint?
Because Mortal Kombat depended on Street Fighter to exist. Yes. Street Fighter got people back in the arcades.
Okay,
Street Fighter is the reason that Mortal Kombat was able to come out when it came out.
Okay, so
I think, sorry, my bad. Go on.
So like, okay, specifically your idea of influence has to do with like what was first, not like what it had, like what happened after, like what its legacy was, or like all this stuff about, like I said, like the First Amendment and whether or not it applied to video games, and like the Supreme Court and the ESRB system and like all of these things that were a direct result of Mortal Kombat. You're saying just like are not important or don't fit into this conversation because Street Fighter came out first.
Tell me when I said that Mortal Kombat was not influential.
I just said, are we going to talk about which one is more influential? And I said, are you saying that Street Fighter is more influential because it came out first? And then you said, well, you know, it got people in the arcades and it's the father of these games. I'm like, okay, but what about all the things that Mortal Kombat did? Like, are you saying that those things are not relevant or do not have anything to do with influence because of the things that you're saying about Street Fighter?
Those things are also influential. I never said that Mortal Kombat wasn't influential. Not just because Street Fighter was first.
So basically, if you put them side by side and just talk about the things that resulted in the existence of these games. So if you put Street Fighter, aside from, okay, it pretty much fathered the fighting game genre as we know it, and outside of video games. So let's take it outside of video games as far as just a cultural and worldwide and just pop culture influence.
Okay.
Like, you know, you got to be real. Street Fighter did not have you know, Congress and them voting on a whole system to change the way that video games are bought. They didn't have your parents freaking out, you know, oh wait, you buying, what is this game you're playing, this and that. They have parents monitoring people's games now because of games like Mortal Kombat. And it's still so crazy. They banned, like she said, they had to ban this game in certain countries that allowed Street Fighter. So imagine if Mortal Kombat was allowed in all those countries that were banned at the time. How much more influence? I think it would probably have the same amount of influence at that point if it was allowed to be in those other countries at the same time and still played at the same level. Like we're just talking about the U.S., maybe, you know, North America, maybe, I don't know, wherever else it was at the time, but, you know, we're just talking about North America for now. But the influence that it had in the States was crazy. So imagine if it was allowed everywhere in the world like Street Fighter was. What would Mortal Kombat be like then? Would it be on the same level or what? I mean, if you think about that, that's a big market because the Asian market loves Street Fighter because they grew up with Street Fighter. It's always been at their hands. They didn't always have Mortal Kombat. Not until recently not until recently. But they didn't always have that game. So all they knew was Street Fighter. So that's how they love it. That's why they have such an affinity for it. We had the luxury of having both games and having both those experiences. So I think that's another thing to think about. Like, it was really, you know, Mortal Kombat was limited and still sold millions and millions of dollars and millions of units and had people still in the arcade and doing these things that Street Fighter was doing. That's something to say.
Yeah. And I don't mind saying that at all. It was very successful. If it was in other places, it would be even more successful. I just don't think that if I say I think Street Fighter is a founding father, that I should not get scoffed at and accused of being biased because I like one game more.
I didn't scoff at you because you said it. I scoffed at you because you said Mortal Kombat would not exist without Street Fighter.
I said that after you scoffed. After you did the funny voice.
We did this all because you got emotional?
Oh, come on.
You know, I get emotional about the truth, Ken. I get emotional about honesty.
We expected to argue because you got in your feelings, my nigga?
I got in my feelings. I got in my feelings because y'all tried to rewrite history. Because y'all tried to
all this goddamn time for nothing. What's next, man?
Sure, let's be funny, Ken. But anyway, I got upset because I felt like y'all were literally lying and being what you were calling me. That's why I got offended.
I don't think that there's anything wrong, because this all goes back to this like Mount Rushmore conversation that we were having last week. Like, I do not think that there's anything wrong whatsoever with having like Street Fighter on your Mount Rushmore. Like, the thing that I think, well, I can't say it started all of this because I think that this whole conversation has been brewing, or it started a while ago. But like, when I scoffed, as you said, or when I made the face that I did, it wasn't because you said Street Fighter was on your Mount Rushmore, or that like Street Fighter was influential. It's because you like specifically are crediting Street Fighter with all of Mortal Kombat's like influence and like existence, and I just think that's bullshit.
Well, like the quote says, it was the success of Capcom Street Fighter 2 that gave them the green light to make the game. So, Mortal Kombat.
Disagree.
Mortal Kombat.
No disagreement here. This nigga
you can disagree all you want.
Word games with y'all. I don't know why y'all even word games. Yes, he does.
That in the first word game he did.
You've been doing it this whole time.
We're going to be going in circles with this.
I'm just saying.
He wants his point. We got our point. We know the truth.
What word game did I play?
See?
Don't even.
What do you want to say?
Here we go.
All I want to say is she's right. That game, what's it called? Karate Champ?
Mm-hmm.
That was the initial idea. But you can't lie and say that. You know, the bones of every fighting game is Street Fighter. So without Street Fighter, let's say Street Fighter didn't come out, when Mortal Kombat came out, it would play nothing like the game you love. That game could be trashed like Karate Champ. So you're right. But at the same time, the idea was right for you. That's it.
All right, let's end it there.
Of course, you want to end with somebody.
No,
agreeing
the way
with
she
you.
said it was better.
He agreed with you too.
The way she said it was better.
No, the way she said it was better though. We're gonna stick with Tyler. We're gonna stick with the black woman.
Y'all can stick with what y'all want. I'll stick with the truth, goddammit. And the people gonna stick with it too.
Alternative. What is it called?
Make
Alternative.
sure y'all go watch Mortal Kombat 11 when it comes out, though. Because NetherRealm be making games. They don't push the same game 15 times a year.
All of that.
Okay. When Street Fighter 6 coming out?
This is like Earth 34.
Shit, when they finish milking Street Fighter 5?
Yeah.
I just want to say, like, for the record,
Arcade
like,
Super Turbo Edition.
I never did out any of that, man. We just talking about the beginning.
I just want to say this like one more time so that it can exist in perpetuity, especially because like people are like kind of like talking shit in the chat or whatever. Like, I completely agree that Midway gave the green light for Mortal Kombat because of the success of Street Fighter. Like, period. Like, that's a fact. Like, nobody is debating that, and I especially am not debating it. But literally what you said last week that we initially took, like, or was initially the point of contention was, like, Street Fighter was the first, everything after it copied it, and, like, it would not exist if it were not for this. And, like, again, we were talking specifically about this idea of like Mount Rushmore and what was most influential. And I just feel like the phrasing of that is really important. Like, if you want to say that it would not exist without the success of Street Fighter, or it would not have come out without the success of Street Fighter, that is not the same thing as saying that it copied it and would not exist if it were not for Street Fighter. Like, those words are important. I have an English degree, like nobody, and I'm not saying that to stunt. I'm saying that like I had spent like 4 years of my life like studying like why words mean different things in like different situations. And I just don't think it's like, you know, realistic or like acceptable to sit up here and say, oh, well, sometimes I can say success and sometimes I'm not going to use the word success, but either way, I'm right and y'all are wrong. If we're like arguing specifically about this exact point of like that wording.
Right.
So, Street Fighter is the most important fighting game of all time.
What's next, B?
Debate me.
Next is the Guess My Game segment. And this week, Granddad.
It's Mortal Kombat now, Jack. Go on.
You know why I should be petty?
Granddad.
You can do fatalities?
At the end of the match.
What's the genre though? I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
So
All right.
that's my
So
game.
yeah, let's switch topics, y'all. No fighting games. No more fighting games.
Okay.
I'm worn out. All right. So this Guess My Game is. So I'm not gonna say the genre yet. I'm gonna just say the initial phrase, and then if y'all don't get it, then I'll come back and say genre. But the last boss of this game is at the Statue of Liberty.
Dang, that's a lot.
Last boss is getting at the Statue of Liberty.
Did this game come out in the last 10 years?
No.
It's a PlayStation exclusive.
Yes.
Metal Gear.
No.
No.
What's the genre?
No. You give me a
yes,
question.
no.
That's my question. Give me a real question. Don't try to cheat.
Was it?
I'm gonna tell you the genre anyway after you ask. So
Was it a PS1 game?
Yes. Y'all want the genre?
Oh, let me hide there. Shit.
No, it's not Siphon Filter. But it's an action RPG. And I'll give you a little bit more.
Oh, I got it.
You got it?
I think.
What is it?
Are you gonna guess?
Or are you gonna guess?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I was-
Anybody else before he
Oh yeah. Is it Parasite Eve?
You got it, my man.
Damn.
Woo, we did it.
I
I thought you was gonna get that shit. I thought you was gonna get that shit.
Yeah, it sure was on Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
2 for 2.
Good shit. Good shit.
All right, so you want to read the question?
So this question comes from GBA Trico. What do you all consider a good time limit for spoilers on games? In one of the recent podcasts, y'all spoiled Spider-Man and I haven't finished it yet.
My bad. I feel like that was me.
The game's fun regardless, but I also kind of helped by mistake. The game's fun regardless, but that did spoil a surprise in the story. Should there be any spoiler warning like people do for movies or nah? Love the podcast.
Yes, there should.
Be a
Yeah,
spoiler
I think we
warning.
should be better about that.
Yeah. Because, sometimes we think, the game's been out for X amount of months and everybody's played it.
Some people don't get
Some
to it.
people don't get to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not like a movie where, like, okay, you got to see that movie within a certain time frame or then, you missed it. A game is different. So, yeah, we got to be do better with that shit.
Yeah, which is why I don't even watch. I plan on playing Devil May Cry 5, which is why I don't even. I just come in and say what's up and I leave because I don't want to I don't want to just be sitting there watching and I'm like knowing what he's doing. So yeah, we got to do better on that.
Yeah.
That's a game I haven't played right away. So and I'm going to play.
Yeah.
Just like when I accidentally spoiled Fight Club for y'all, even though that movie came out like 20 years ago, there's still people who haven't seen it, so that really wasn't cool to me. And as soon as I said it, I was like, oh shit. So yeah, I think we just have to, just
Shut the
be
fuck
better.
up.
Just be better about
say a
making sure we
damn
don't do that.
thing.
Yeah, we'll work on it. Our bad. So that was a quick one. Next question comes from Diogen. Which game trailer / announcement had you hyped, but when it was released, it wasn't what you expected?
All of them, because they lie.
God damn it, Ken.
Wow. I don't know.
That's a good question.
So I do have one. I'm going to say,
Were-
I guess it was what I was expecting from the trailer, but it just wasn't good. And that was Resident Evil 6. If any of y'all was following me on YouTube at the time, I was like, oh shit, like this game has the most employees from Capcom working on it all at once, and you can walk while you shooting, and it's got Leon and Chris, and it's gonna be tight. And that shit was
That Chris shit pissed me off. I'm like, this ain't Resident Evil, this is goddamn Division. Running around taking cover. This is not Resident Evil.
Right.
Like, the Leon shit was cool, but even, I would say 6 was probably one of the weakest games.
It is.
Yeah.
If not the weakest, I was upset
it's the
with 6.
weakest numbered game.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
All of those Call of Duty trailers. Is Battlefield one of them?
That's a Battlefield game. That's not Call of Duty, but they have trailers.
Yeah, all them trailers lie. All that shit. Making shit look
Well, I
like
got
a movie.
one. I got a game now. Yeah, I got one. And I was a huge fan of this franchise in the PlayStation 2 and played PS3. But for Killzone Liberation, that was definitely.
Is that the first one? Is that the first Killzone?
It was the first one for PS4. So it was technically 4. It was technically Killzone 4, but they called it Killzone Liberation. That was one where I was like, oh man, the trailer is looking meh, but when I played it, I was like, ooh, nah, not so much. So that's the game that comes to mind when I think about that.
Damn.
You got one? And y'all got one?
I don't know. I can't think of one right now because usually, like the trailer, I'm pretty spot on when how I feel about trailers. I can read trailers real good. So if I already feel like I'm not getting what I want out the trailer, I'm not going to be excited about the game. Or, so, I don't know, I can't think of one. Nah. You got me on that one, Yojan.
That was a rage quit moment that somebody sent to us on Reddit. I don't have.
Yeah, I got a couple of them. I got it. That too.
We'll probably do that next week.
All right, word. So, we had a funny rage quit moment on Reddit. What's the Reddit? Dead End Gaming / Dead End Gaming.
Dead End Gaming.
All right, this comes from Good is Straight Edge. He says, I've never thrown or broken any controllers, but there was one time in particular. I remember getting so mad that I cried. When I was a kid, I used to rent games.
The kid was like, what?
Oh, you didn't see this one?
Here we go.
Just let me finish.
Let him finish.
It gets better
before you go in,
baby. When I was a kid, I used to rent games every week and beat or try to beat them within that week-long period. If I didn't, I would just rent it, and then I would rent it again until I beat the game. I rented Tekken 4, my favorite fighting game ever around the time when it came out. I was fighting against martial law, that bitch-ass Bruce Lee wannabe who can't keep a restaurant open.
Why you gotta do it all like that? Come on, he's trying.
Right?
He's trying.
I could not beat this dude to save my life. I had been trying for almost an hour. It was as if I was playing against a button masher and couldn't counter any of their moves. It got to the point where once he got going, I just put down the controller and started sobbing.
I need an age. I need an age.
I don't know. Once he beat me, I started it over and let him do it again. I was so fed up with it. I did eventually beat him after I stopped crying.
You just became an abuse victim.
I still have flashbacks whenever I play against him in any of the Tekken games and get angry. So that was the best. That was the winner.
Wow.
Dead in rage.
We got some more we have to pull.
That's good for
and read them next week because we're running a little long. But Jesus.
Can I do one more?
Comment?
It's one more rage.
Okay.
This comes from Real King Zeke 856.
Shout out.
On Twitter. My dead in rage moment was fighting Shao Kahn and MK9. After an hour of straight L's, I launched my PS3 controller out the window and it almost hit my sister as she made her way outside.
Oh, that's hilarious, dude.
I went Ken mode and punched my PS3 and nearly broke it down.
There you go. Whoa. Not the PS3 one, brother.
Hey, look, they ain't tough like Nintendo.
I don't give a damn. And as far as the poll, the question was, what most determines what console you buy? With 10% we have the price, 15% is brand loyalty, 32% we have friends, and 43% exclusives. That's all I got.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Well, all right, y'all. That's gonna do it for this week. Thank you guys for watching Twitch stream as usual. Make sure you follow all our individual Twitch channels and everything, and follow the YouTube channel because Granddad is killing it with the YouTube channel.
Yeah,
great
go watch that Mortal Kombat video.
Yeah.
Oh, and shout out to Omar and what's your name? Jonathan for helping us behind the scenes.
Yes.
With production.
Yes.
We made it out alive, y'all.
Yeah, we did.
Shout out to Kevin.
Things got a little heated.
I know.
But, we're all still a family, right?
I haven't screamed that loud in my life, but yes, I still love y'all.
DEG debates is our new hashtag. We're gonna start using.
I just want and anybody in the Twitch chat right now, I just want y'all to clip every moment where Eric's name is talking.
I've never seen him get that hot. I was like, yo.
All right, y'all, man. We see y'all next week.
All right, y'all.
All right, bye, y'all.
Peace out, y'all.